Welcome to another episode of James Loves Butter, JLB in the house. Anybody that's new, welcome. Anybody that's already subscribed or just stumbling across me today, welcome to this wonderful, glorious Sunday morning. The first disclaimer, as most of you are aware already, what I'm talking about today is of a life gone by. I do not promote any violence, any criminality, any drug taking, any nefarious activities of a selfish nature. But what I'm talking about is of a life gone by to maybe help anybody that's struggling in that lifestyle or wants some help or, you know, looking for some identification and maybe looking to turn things around, I guess. Or if you just want to be entertained, you know, get on board, let's get into this. So today's story is about a theft, fake Jamaicans, club bouncers, and being beaten within an inch of my life. So I'm going to interject and welcome somebody called Wesley to this story. He's not with me today, but he'll be in one of these episodes in a not too distant future. He was my right-hand man, my partner in crime, my A1 brethren, going back to from about 1996, 97. I'm going to try and set the scene. I lived on the Brighton Road in a place called Croydon, deemed as South London. So I was on the Brighton Road, back end of that, just coming out. It was actually in Purley in about 1996, 97. And the guy that's involved, my right-hand man, Wesley, within this, he's given me permission to mention his first name within this. So I'm not talking about anybody that I shouldn't be. And just to give you an idea how I met Wesley, I worked at a petrol station in the local vicinity of that area, and we befriended each other while I was working there. And treading carefully, he relieved some money from the premises. I actually got the blame for it. And I didn't know anything about it. I obviously denied it and stuff. And it came to light a little while later that it was Wesley that had relieved me, or this premises, of quite a considerable large amount of money for that time. And the strange thing was, I wasn't offended, I wasn't upset. I was actually really excited about this thing. And the next time I met Wesley was a couple of weeks later, give or take, on a bus. I jumped on the bus and I saw him. What was he up to? Well, he just got some of that magical powder called cocaine that I saw as at that time. And we were, from that moment, I'd got my own place. He was like, I've got the yayo. I said, I've got the place, let's go. And we were joined at the hip for a good 2 or 3 years, and still having both turned our lives around, gone in different directions and gone full circle. We're now really good friends. It's good to get my brother back and my friend back, and he would reciprocate that. He's been on his own journey, which we'll discuss when we get onto his interview. So to paint a picture, we were in it together in a life of crime, women, drugs, raving, jungle raves, all that kind of deal. Thick as thieves, going out during the day, making money. It was all about the graft, making money for the evening, clothing, cocaine, and hedonism, really, actually. So I just wanted to give you a little snapshot of the character Wesley in this story. Prior to that, there was, near where I lived, there was an estate called the Webb Estate, and I don't mean a council estate, I mean a very rich and opulent estate. In fact, the girl that I started or crossed paths with and started forming a relationship of sorts with, I never really think we were going out with one another, but there was something. She was your typical multi-millionaire's I say typical, no, I'll rephrase that. She was, in a sense, she was like a multi-millionaire's daughter that lived on the Webb estate, which was the most exclusive place to live in that area. Well renowned. In fact, at that time, I believe Daniela Westbrook lived opposite this girl. In fact, I met Daniela in a dentist once, actually. That's another story. Anyway, so I'd crossed paths with this girl, and she was, you know, young, blonde, flowing hair. I think once she was driving around in her dad's Mercedes, and she didn't even have a license. She was rebelling against something, you know, whatever was going on at home and stuff. And we crossed paths, and she came round to mine and kind of moved in. You know, I had my own flat on the Brighton Road, and she moved in, and it was partying. We're talking about ecstasy and cocaine and music and double brandy and cokes and all that kind of thing. And we were together for a bit, loosely. Don't know quite what was going on there. She was kind of using me as an escape, I think, actually. And I just saw her as a vibrant, young, buxom, blonde bombshell. I remember, yeah, she goes, let's go to my dad's and see what we can get for like money for the night out and stuff. And so we went to her dad's, her parents. You know, again, apologies for all this stuff was many years ago. And we'd gone in the house, and I think we got like a gold bar of, no, not a gold bar, a silver bar, a couple of bits. She grabbed the keys, and we jumped in the E-Class Merc, and she was driving around like a lunatic, lethal. So I just had to pause then, because I just remember the times that I nearly lost my life while she was driving that car that evening. You know, she double dropped, and she was flying around like she was playing bloody Mario Kart. It was absolutely lethal. Anyway, so that's just sort of painting a picture of that. And then she left, and what happened is she was going to clubs like Gas Club and all these places, the Arches, all these different venues in London and stuff around the garage scene, and probably a bit of house. And she'd come back and talk to me. She's met this bouncer, and they've got on well and all that kind of thing. And then basically, before you know it, she moved on. She'd gone into the distant future, but we kept in touch on my orange Nokia phone I had then, and didn't really think much more of it. And Wesley and I were in and out of our daily grind of getting out, going up. We'd go all over London and Greater London every day to make money for what we were doing, and particularly at the weekends. I was working in the week, but sometimes I'd have a day off, especially if it was a heavy night. So always eyes peeled, ready for the earner, for the raise, for the graft, you know, which was fundamentally, we were what started to be recreational drug use and experimental drug use. Then from the cocaine at 18 to 19 came the crack cocaine. You know, the drug was taking us, and we were surviving within the need for that substance. And you become, this is what I was talking about with him the other night, and he said it was like we were hunters, survival. We were going on the hunt to get what we needed. And so I've been talking to this girl from a long time ago. Again, I started talking about it, and we'd arranged. She said, come over and see me. And it was in a place called Isleworth. And I said, cool. So I spoke to Wesley, because we were together every day in his state of mind. We were just in it and on it, constant 24/7. But this so happened to be a morning when he was going to see his auntie or something like that. And I said to him, Wesley, I've just been speaking to this girl and she's invited me over. And she talked about the guy that she lived with, this bouncer. And I will paint a picture. He was about 6'3" and about 21 stone. He was huge. Bit of a gentle giant, actually. I'd met him once before, and he was very nice and lovely and gracious and stuff. He wasn't a meatball on steroids, you know, a bully, nothing like that. And I knew that they had Technics 1210s, a set of Technics turntables, worth a lot of money. So I said to Wes, I'm going over to Isleworth to see this girl. Trust me, I'm going to get a raise and I'll be back. Keep your phone on. He's like, cool, safe man, no worries, no drama. I said, cool. So I went off on my travels to Isleworth. You know, dressed up to the nines, looking fresh. Part of me was thinking I might hook up with this girl, but underneath all that, I was on the hunt. I was looking for a raise, a graft, to get some money, to come back that would fund this lifestyle that I was in then, you know, which was fundamentally cocaine, crack cocaine, going out, drinking and clothes. So I went over there and went round, and I think I rang her on the way or messaged her. Not so interactive with telephones back in that time, not like like it is today with WhatsApp, and it was just a message, you'd have a quick phone or whatever, a quick call. And I went over there and she was at work or something, or did I find that out afterwards? That was it. So I got to the property, got to the address, knocked on the door, and this guy answered. He filled the door frame, man. Nice house, lovely, and I've got him. And I liked him, genuinely liked him, but you've got to understand the undercurrent, the pull for an ulterior motive was always just bubbling under the surface. I was like a cat on a hot tin roof. I was just always vigilant and eyes open. I didn't miss a trick. And I was in there with him talking. He goes, oh, she's not back from work yet. She'll be back later. So I was like, okay, cool. He was like, chill out here for a bit, man. And, you know, me being the conversationalist and talking to him and getting into some stuff, it was no, it was nice. And I think he put a record on, and I think I sent a message to Wes saying, look, 1210s Technics, can you sell them? He was like, yeah, man, cool. So I thought that was my idea. And bear in mind, I'm a good, I don't know the exact distance, just let's call it 30 miles. It's probably a little bit far, but let's call it 15, 20 miles from my place. So, you know, and I was using taxis, trains, buses at that time. So we got around London, and he says to me, do you want a cup of tea? I said, yeah, I'd love a cup of tea. That'd be great, thanks. And all very civilised, and you'd put a tune on, make a cup of tea, come out. Bear in mind, at this time, he was a bouncer working within these clubs, and he was a pill dealer. He dealt ecstasy, and a substantial amount of it, and he was pretty connected to some guys within that chain. It was a bit of a different business back then. I was sitting there, and what I'd seen on the mantelpiece was an envelope sitting there on the mantelpiece. So when he went in to make a cup of tea, I went and had a look, and I opened this envelope, and it was ram jam with 10s and 20s and 5s and all that sort of thing. My heart palpitation, because I knew it was on. I knew what was going to happen. I knew, and bit of a long con, not an instant thing. So talking, then I said, I'll make a cup of tea or a soft drink. We weren't drinking alcohol. I definitely remember that. It was the daytime. We were waiting for her to come back, and we were going to go out later. So it came to the point when he says, do you want a drink? I've been there a couple of hours, mine. It wasn't just a quick 10-minute thing, couple of hours. I said, yeah, I'll have a, you know what, I will actually. I'll have a squash or a lemonade, whatever. And as he went to get it, I went straight up to the mantelpiece, grabbed the money, straight down the front of the trousers, and gently opened the door, shut it, and run like Linford Christie, man. I was gone. I dust out of that place. And I was running, and then in my mind it becomes like it's a film, like I'm in Platoon and people are after me and I'm being sniped after, and I was hiding behind bins, garages, you know, just so extra, but understandably and cautious because I didn't want to get caught. As I come around the corner, a black cab just came along, and I was like, cool. I jumped in the black cab and I was like, go, 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 go. He goes, where you going? I said, Croydon, South Croydon. So he did. I tried to get hold of Wesley mine, and I was ringing him, nothing. His phone was dead. Nothing was going on. And I needed to relate to him what was going on and prepare yourself because I'm coming home. and he was nowhere to be found. So on the way home, of course, now I stopped at this guy that I used to buy my crack off. There was a few people, but this is one in particular, and his name was Frank, Mad Frankie, and he was a white guy that hung around a lot of yardies, a lot of Jamaicans, a lot of characters of all sorts. You know, I'd been round there a few times and scored off him, smoked a bit round there and linked up with a couple of guys. There was a lot of hustle and bustle and, you know, criminal activity going round, and he wasn't really licking the pipe at that point. He was just putting it in a spliff and smoking it in a spliff, that kind of thing. But he was obviously sort of going down a path that probably ended up pretty bad. So anyway, I think I don't know if I've rang him. I've just turned up, and by the way, when I've got in the black taxi, in the black cab, I've opened this envelope, and I would say at that point, I think there was about 1,500 quid in there, which, you know, for 96, 97, for a quick 1-2 step and a quick off the old mantelpiece, you know, is a considerable amount of money. And it wasn't Dex having to carry 12 tens around and stuff. It's what you want. You want the cash, because anything else you've just got to sell. And the thing is, when you're a drug addict and your first need is crack cocaine, you know, you want the cash, you want the ready. So I've stopped off at Frank's now, and I've opened the door. He's like, "Hey Holmes, how you doing, Holmes?" He talked in this sort of Cockney Jamaican kind of mixed dialect of patois and his own sort of southern drawl, man. It was an interesting character. He was like, "Hey Holmes," and I was like, "Yes Frank, well, go on, you cool, man?" He was like, yeah. So I've come in and he goes, "What you after?" And I think I said, "Look, I used to buy him in 20 rocks then." So I was like, I want, just give me 10. Give me 10, 20 stones, as we call them, stones or rocks or bones. So I bought 10 of him. I would have, I probably would have, knowing me, I'd have boxed them off, popped one open, given them a pipe. I'd have had a lick myself and then gone. Bear in mind, was I thinking was the taxi outside? Possibly if the taxi was waiting because I was quick to get back, I'd have said to the that was what I said to the taxi. I said, "How much is it?" And I think he said it was about 60 quid. I boxed him off a wanna. I said, "I'll be out in 10 minutes. He was like, "Cool, man, no worries." And that was what happened. So in, out, jumped in the taxi, back to mine. And I got in, and at first I was trying to phone Wesley, see where he was, what was going on, and he was nowhere. And I was like, oh. And I wanted to smoke with him. I wanted to celebrate this earner with him and this excitement and what's happened. And, you know, I also wanted him there with me because he's almost like a solidarity in two people if anything came about, which is what came about. So I'm in mine. And bear in mind, I've got a taxi from Isleworth to Croydon, to this place, to Mad Frank's, and then to mine in Purley. And I didn't know what was going on back at the house that I'd just left. So it felt like I'd been in mine literally 5-10 minutes. And my adrenaline was pumping. I was coming down from that one lick I'd already had at Mad Frank's. But the adrenaline had just sort of grounded me. And I was on a road facing, I lived in a road facing flat, first floor. And the curtains were pretty much always drawn. And I opened the curtains through the crack, and my heart dropped. I looked through the window, and there was this girl and this guy, the bouncer, and one of his other bouncer colleagues walking up the drive. I mean, they filled the drive. They were huge. The thing is, there was nowhere for me to run. As in, there was no back door. I couldn't go downstairs and out the back. There was one way in and one way out. Unless what I did and what I thought of, I had a mate who lived upstairs called Richard. He was from a different world. He was a bit of a rock and roller sort of thing, into his playing his guitar. A lovely guy, and I used to go up there and chill. And play PlayStation and listen to the Verve and all that kind of stuff. And I'd introduce him to jungle music. He didn't, you know, nice guy. And so I thought, right, so I came out of my door, locked it, went upstairs, another flight of stairs, and knocked on the door. Rich, it's me. Let me in. No answer. There was no one in. So what I did was like, shh. So I got the money out of my pocket, which is about, say, let's just call it 1,200 quid. The 9 rocks. I did not want to lose this, no matter what. This was what it was all about, yeah. This was, you know, my what's the word I'm looking for? My lick, my raise, you know, my buzz. So I put that under his mat and sat and crouched down. I was like in a ball because there was like a little partition where what came up the stairs, and I had boom, kicked the first door off. Where is he? Which one is it? They said, walking up the stairs. I could hear everything. I could have heard a pin drop, you know, it was like everything was heightened. Is it this one? Flat 3. And the girl was there. She went, yeah, it's this one. Boom! Where is he? And they were looking around the yard, you know, nowhere to be found. And I heard from this guy to the girl, have a look around. And then I was like, no, please don't come upstairs. Please don't come upstairs. Please don't come upstairs. And then and there she was, this girl, and she looked down at me, and I was going, shh. And she looked at me. She'd been terrorised. She was frightened. She'd been crying. She had a black eye. And she went, he's up here. Oh, man. So I kind of just got up slowly, and there he was walking up the stairs, grabbed me, put me in the front room. I had like a wooden kitchen chair of some description, and that got put in the middle of the room, and they sat me on this chair. And I'm really going to try not to swear within this, no profanities, but it basically turned out that they were going to beat me until they got their money back. And I happened to have a small police truncheon on the side, and he picked it up and he said to me first nicely, look, where's the money? Gives the money and you're going to be all right. And I was like, I haven't got it. And he just went whack around my shins, bang, around the bottom of my legs. Where's the effing money? And I was like, I promise you I haven't got it. Whack around the side of the head, whack over the arms. Where's the money? I haven't got it. Whack. And this went on. It seemed like ages, but you know, it's probably only a couple of minutes. And I said, look, I owed these Jamaicans £2,000 for crack cocaine. I'd smoked it, and they said they're going to kill me. They're going to chop me up with a machete, a cutlass, or, you know, they're going to shoot me if I didn't get this money back. So I never intended, when I came over to you, it was just an opportunity. I'm an opportunist, and what I did, I was so frightened for my own life that I took that money and ran. And I said, as soon as I got that money and left yours, I stopped off at the yardies and paid them their money back because I didn't want to be shot, or I didn't want my arm chopped off. As I was talking to him, he was almost like he was starting to come into terms with what I was talking about. But he was like, it's not good enough. I want the money. I want that money. What are you going to do about it? At the same time, he was looking, he goes, right, I want to take the stuff that's in your flat. And I was like, okay. And he was looking around, but really, there was nothing really that you're going to take. Like, what, you had a load of Versace Moschino stuff, some Gucci loafers. I had a TV, but the TVs back then, man, they were just not like little thin TVs. They were big TVs. And he was looking around. And I started to get a little bit more comfortable with him and talking to him, sort of thing, like I want to resolve this problem. And what happened is, while he was sort of looking there, my window was there, and I've been eyeing my window up. So I went over casually if I was looking for something, and I opened the window and I jumped out of the window, rolled down onto this little roof and bang onto the floor. I nearly knocked myself out. Just as I was about to get up, I mean, I was half concussed and winded. That was more the problem. Just as I was about to get up, it got downstairs real quick. It wasn't far, and stamped on my chest. I said, I can't breathe, I'm frying, I need to get out, you're gonna kill me. He was like, calm down, James. I was trying to cause a commotion as well. And as I've got up, I said, I had a mate that lived next door. I said, look, I'll show you where the money is. I know where it is. I said, just follow me. And I cut through to my mate Matthew's, God rest his soul, no longer with us. And I crossed through there and I went to bend down to get it from underneath a mat, faking it so I could make a quick turn and run. Opposite my house is a place called, it was a bowling alley. We used to go there and drink at night time. It turned into a night bowl and we'd drink and corrupt the whole place. And it was absolutely crazy, hilarious. But I'd been kicked out of there several times. So what I did is I was going to run in there. So I've diverted, ran straight across to the bowling alley. And as I've ran straight down through the glass doors through, another two bouncers that had thrown me out the week before, they said, what do you think you're doing? You are never coming in here again. So I said, please, you got to help me. These guys, they're like, get out of here. You're a troublemaker. You're trouble. Get out. So they turned me back, and these other two bouncers, the irony, that were there to get the money and were beating me up. They grabbed me, but, you know, they carried me 2 arms, 2 legs straight across the Brighton Road. You know, I was wriggling, trying to get away. There was no escape. Back up to my flat, sat me back out on the chair and started hitting me again. There was no, I'll tell you this. There was no way that I was going to give up the drugs or money. Absolutely no way at all. And I think they saw that, and I was sticking to the story. I said, look, I told you I was trying to get away, but I told you I've given the money to the yardies. I promise you I have not got it. Well, these guys knew that I worked at a bank at that time, which I did. I was an administrator in a bank, but it wasn't actually within the bank. It was in the insurance department in Croydon, and they knew this. And what happened is they were looking around, and he found a letter, but it was actually a credit card statement, but from the same place that I worked, the same bank. So he looked at that. He could see that I wasn't going to give up the goods. And bear in mind now, I was black and blue. I had a fat lip. I didn't break my nose, but I had blood coming out my nose. I had a black eye. I could hardly move my hands because they'd been hit. My legs were buckled. I mean, I don't know how I hadn't broken anything. I didn't know how I hadn't got any internal bleeding or ruptured my spleen or anything like that. But I was in a bad way. And he got this letter. And he started, this wasn't his normal characteristic or behaviours, but there was probably people above him. I don't know what was going on, but, you know, it was pretty serious. So he found this letter, looked at it, and he goes, right, I've now got your work address. And it wasn't. It was actually the credit card head office address that he had in London. I said, yeah, that's where I work. He goes, look, when do you get paid? And I was like, yeah, end of the month. And he goes, right, end of the month, I'm going to phone you. You're going to meet me. You're going to pay back this money. I was like, anything. I promise you, I'll pay you the money back, please. I was just in an awful predicament. I didn't want this to happen. I'm so sorry. It's all, excuse my language, it was all BS, you know. And they left. And I was laying on the settee, absolutely, like in so much pain. I couldn't move. I was bruised, black, blue. I was like, where's Wesley? Still no where's. Like that one time that I wanted him to be around me with something, and it wasn't his fault, but he just wasn't there. And I was almost like in and out of consciousness on the settee. And about 11, 12 o'clock, give or take, the door opened, because I'm sure Wesley had a key at that point, or I'd left it, I can't remember. No, that's a lie, because they kicked the door open. The lock wasn't working, you see, so he just came in, turned the light on. He'd been lagoed, he'd been on the old brandy and cokes and stuff, buzzing, eyes out there. I don't mean he'd been doing drugs, but just that he had that look about him, you know, that starry-eyed look. And he's like, and he put the light on, and he saw me buckled on the set, all mangled. He goes, "What the happened to you?" I said, "Wait there." And I crawled up the stairs. He may have come with me. I don't think he did. But he may have done. But I went up the stairs, lifted the mat up, got the money, picked up the rocks, but he couldn't see what I'd got. He didn't know that. And I come back down and sat down. Because look, I couldn't even make a pipe to smoke the rocks or the crack on it because I was just so, I couldn't move. But when Wesley come back and I got a bit of adrenaline and the endorphins got me upstairs or whatever, and I come back downstairs and I just went, I got one hand and opened all these notes and just all the notes fell everywhere, yeah? And then I went, I've got these. Like I had the Jack and the Giant Beanstalks, I had the magic beans, and I opened up and obviously like 20 stones fell out. These big 20 stones, this yellow crack, it was like the creme de la creme back then. Not promoting drugs, I'm just explaining what it was like in my mindset back then. And I was like, "Wes, man, build a pipe." So he's like, boom, made a pipe, put some stuff together, and he's got it, put the crack on the pipe, held it to my lips. I've smoked it, and I've just gone, and I stood up, and the buzz, the adrenaline, the crack, I was just like, and he goes, "What the hell happened?" Anyway, so we were talking and smoking and that kind of thing, and said, "Right, who's the guy's number?" So I passed him the number. We were looking at a way of damage limitation to put an end to this, to curtail this situation. We didn't want any more repercussions or any more ramifications of this. So Wesley picked up the phone, and he was very good at doing a Jamaican accent. And a long story short, he rang up these guys, and these bouncers were white guys, and they were frightened of the yardies or the Jamaicans, what I've been talking about, because there was guns and machetes and stuff, you know what I mean? And I'd obviously paid my debt back to these alleged yardies anyway, so it would be real to think that I would have had them on side. So Wesley phoned up and he spoke to this guy, and I'm not going to do a Jamaican accent, but in patois he was going, you know, they were going, "Hello, who's this?" And he was going like, "Yeah, it's so and so. I've just come back to the yard and I found my man, like James, beaten up. There's police all around there. There's crime scene investigation. There's tape. He's cordoned off. What's happened, man?" But he was doing this in a Jamaican accent, you know, real deep patois. And the guy was like, "Are you Jamaican? There's Jamaicans yardies are going to be, you know." And he was like, I remember the line, goes, "Jamaicans," he goes, it's gonna be like Notting Hill Carnival down your street, bruv, you know what I mean?" And he was just like, "Look, we don't want no trouble. We're sorry about what happened," and put the phone down. And that was it. So in the amongst of smoking this crack cocaine and this happening, that had happened there, and put an end to that. Me and Wesley were talking about it, and it was a very hedonistic night. And the next morning I got up and nursed my wounds a little bit, but I was full of excitement, and you know, I've been on an adventure and I succeeded, and you know, it's just another day at war, and come out the other side. Got up the next morning, I had to go and see a guy I know called Stuart. I always tick weed off him, paid off my weed debt with him, got some more skunk, went back into town, bought a couple of items like a Machino this and a Versace that. I think we got something each. And that was it, man. That was just another crazy, really story of Mad Frank, fake Jamaicans, the bouncers, crack cocaine, Isleworth, Versace, that's a good one, Machino and Versace, and getting beaten actually with an inch of my life. And what I'm trying to highlight within this is actually the lengths and the depths that I went to, or went within my own drug addiction, and also thinking about actually the trauma that comes along with going through those experiences and the harms to other people as a result of my selfish and self-centered actions and my drug addicted mentality and my delusions of grandeur, and how the crack cocaine changed my mind, that need for it, the hunt. And that was just one day, and Wesley and I had many days like that. Wesley and I lost touch for many years, but over the last few years we've reconnected, and he's absolutely transformed and turned his life around, as I have too, in different ways, but the same kind of thing. And we've come back here, and you know, we've been having some great conversations really recently, and he's back to being my brother, which is just it's absolutely a miracle that we ever escaped and found a way out. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed that story. Remember, just say no, don't do drugs, very bad for you, and certainly don't take anything that doesn't belong to you. Please like and please subscribe to the channel. Any comments or any questions would be grateful or welcomed. Take care, have a wonderful weekend, enjoy the sun. James loves butter. Take care.